I had reviewed Cats before, and for some reason I had privated that video. I discovered it this week when I was looking for another video in my private catalogue, and I came across this, and I have absolutely no idea why I privated it. So I was going to just make it active again. And then I realised probably best not, just in case there was a reason why I privated it. And I thought, okay, well, I can't review it without rewatching it because I can't fully remember every aspect. So I decided to give it another watch, which I didn't think I would ever do again. And honestly, my biggest issue is that it's just really, really boring. Yes, there are obviously a lot of other issues, and I'll talk about those in a moment. But at the same time, I just find the story to be really, really dull. There are a lot of videos on YouTube doing deeper dives into some of the problems with the film. I definitely recommend those. This will just be more of a brief summary of my thoughts. And in general, I don't think it's as bad as what I remembered it in terms of the issues with the film. I think it's just very boring. This was released 2019. It's directed by Tom Hooper, written by Lee Hall and Tom Hooper, based, of course, on the musical Cats, which I've never seen. I have seen it was a VHS of the musical, but I don't really remember it in any detail. And we have a cast including Francesca Hayward, Judi Dench, Idris Elba, Jennifer Hudson, Rebel Wilson, James Corden, Ian McKellen, Taylor Swift, Ray Winstone. Obviously, the cast is incredible, and I feel like that's where most of the budget went. The musical is about, believe it or not, some cats, and the Jellicle cats, and a cat called Victoria. And honestly, there's not much else to it. It doesn't have a strong narrative. Now, I'm not blaming the film for this. I'm assuming it's the same in the stage musical. I really, really can't remember from when I saw the VHS. But the story itself is very weak. I feel like the narrative could have been a lot more interesting, and it just doesn't have a lot to offer, and I found that to be really, really boring. The cast is obviously incredible. The songs are okay. The songs are not too bad. The choreography is pretty good. We actually have some really good musical numbers. The musical aspect is quite good, which certainly helps when the narrative itself is kind of lacking. The set designs are okay, but I found the film to be visually boring. The narrative is boring. Visually, it's just not that interesting to look at. So even if we take the post-production problems aside, in general, the narrative is dull. Visually, it's boring. The musical aspects are good. The cast is incredible. So those things kind of coupled together, the good and the bad, would make it balance out to be an average film. And I think that that's the case. I think it is an average film at best. However, we do, of course, have a lot of problems with post-production, and there are a lot of reasons for why this happened and problems with the editing. And in general, are they excuses or are they valid reasons? I don't know. I don't have an opinion on that either way, but the visual effects definitely had some problems, and it got to the point where it was just a little bit ridiculous. But honestly, nothing was too severe. Obviously, for production of this size, according to Wikipedia, it had a budget of $80 to $100 million. I haven't fact-checked that, but that's according to Wikipedia. A production of this scale, you'd think that there wouldn't be quite so many errors. But in general, they're not too jarring. They're not too severe. If you can overlook them, it's still only an okay film. But they're nothing severe or absolutely insane. But obviously, again, a production of this scale should not have quite so many errors. And it just makes it a little bit ridiculous. It makes it hard to take it seriously when the film itself didn't seem to fully take itself seriously either. And as I said, there are reasons given for why these things happened. It's worth looking into in more detail if you're curious. As I said, this is just going to be a very brief snapshot discussion, sharing some of my thoughts. And in a way, I guess I'm glad I rewatched it, because it wasn't as bad as what I remembered. And I wonder if that's partly because at the time I watched it, I feel like everybody was pointing out all of the problems. So when I watched it, I was aware of all of the problems. There may be issues with this rewatch that I completely overlooked. That's absolutely possible. So watching it again, six years later, that's absolutely incredible. Not quite 6 years. It came out in the December of 2019. Watching it much later, I'm obviously further removed from all of those many conversations about the problems, and I think it's maybe marginally a better experience. But again, it's still just very boring. The music is fine, but the set designs they're well crafted. They look good in terms of the scaling and everything, and the way the characters are interacting with them, absolutely fine, but not very interesting to look at. And the narrative's really boring, but again, that's not necessarily the fault of the film if they're adapting it from the stage musical. It's not a good film. There are problems with it, but it's also very boring. But watching it again, it's slightly better than I remembered. Or I guess slightly less bad than I remembered. I think that's probably a more accurate way of putting it. If you've never seen it, give it a watch. Come to your own conclusion. You might really thoroughly enjoy it. I'd love to know what you think of it, in particular if you're a fan of the stage musical. If you've seen the stage musical, if you remember it, how does it compare? But certainly based on this, it doesn't make me want to see the stage musical. I know it's a very different atmosphere when you see things live, but still not overly enthusiastic about that. Either way, not an amazing film, not really even a good film, not as bad as I remembered. I guess I didn't mind rewatching it again. Let's hope I don't accidentally private this version. And yeah, it's okay. It's not great. Check it out if you're curious. If you're not missing out on much.